This is episode number 348 of the InnerFight podcast. Welcome back to another edition of the InnerFight podcast, brought to you by Smith Street Paleo. You can still do it. You can still hop over to iTunes. You can still rate and review the show, and we will still send you a Smith Street Paleo goodie bag. And they have new products. They have a tahina brownie. They have a banana muffin. We'll send you some of those. In this show, we're going to talk all about mental toughness and grit. Let's jump into today's show. Andre, I feel very nervous. So let's put this out there. The idea here was you were going to ask me all these questions, and I reckon you sent me about 25 different questions. Minimum, of which I have studied them. I've had them 2 weeks. I've studied every single one. I've got paragraphs, and it could go on for 40 to 50 minutes. No, mate, this is all about mental toughness and grit. It's your show, so you take it away.
So I thought this topic was really relevant since here at InnerFight, mental toughness is one of our biggest points. It's one of the values. It's one of the things that we like to educate people most in.
Absolutely.
It's something that I think a lot of people think they know what is, but they don't really know before they've tried to actually put it into work every single day. So this show is going to talk about what mental toughness, or with other words, grit, would mean and how you can achieve it. So the first question is, what is your definition of mental toughness?
To be honest with you, mate, when you sent me these questions, I read that one and I was like, shit. If all of the questions are as hard as this, I'm going to really struggle in this chat. But then I had to think about it quickly, and I was like, you know what? Mental toughness, to me, is your ability to keep going and chipping away towards a goal when pretty much anything and everything is against you. Those things that are against you could be physical. They could be your body breaking down on the way to a physical challenge. They could be mental things. Mental toughness is not just, we breed mental toughness in people through physical activity, but mental toughness is about being in the workplace. It's having a business plan in front of you and having the fortitude and the attitude to keep going and chipping away at it until you figure out how to finish it in the right way. So I think that's what it really is. When all the chips are down, it's using your brain and the toughness that you've got to keep going and getting towards the goal. And really, and this is what it leads to sum it up, it really leads to sort of that attitude that anything's possible. Like, you tell me something's not impossible, I'm going to show you how to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that really is an attitude that people, that's a definition for me, and it's an attitude to get the most out of things. So to me, that's what mental toughness is.
And I think a lot of people will get super excited about that, and will totally agree on that. But when circumstances are crap, and they have this master plan, and they're super motivated, and they have bought all the gear, and they've made, the business plan.
Yeah.
And then shit.
Yeah.
It starts raining. They can't go running, or
exactly,
the flight they were going to catch got canceled, or all these things out of your control just goes broke. Yeah. What do you do when you're in that situation?
I mean, what you do, mate, is you start to figure out, okay, there's loads of variables that you've spoken about there that are out of your control. So there's the weather, there's the fact that the customers didn't come the first day. Like, it's quite funny. When I started InnerFight, I was like, I'm going to build this website, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything online, and of course everyone's going to want to go and have a look at it. Of course, no one goes and freaking has a look at it. You know what I mean? So this project that you've been working on for weeks, months, it's the new brand. I've got the branding. It looks cool and sexy, and I'm super happy with it. And the first day, my dad and my parents, my mum and dad and my sister maybe go on the website. And I'm there looking on Google Analytics. 3 clicks. I'm like, what?
Months of work, living in your parents' basement.
You can't worry about that. What you have to figure out is what you can then do. So, that was a work situation, call it that, and there's a physical situation as well. What you have to do is you have to not focus on the variables that you can't control. You take all of the variables under your control. So in that situation, I'm like, okay, no one's on the website. Let's not sit around and beat myself up why no one's on the website. What can I do to get people to go on the website? It's the same. If I want to go for a 20k run or a 10k run or whatever it is, I want to go out. If it's raining, no worries. I'll just put a raincoat on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't, nothing, there are some things, mate, that are a showstopper, and there are some variables. Like if you say, okay, I need to get from London to Dubai, and all of the planes are cancelled,
Skype.
and I need to get there now. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if I need to be there in person. But, you know, it's like, okay, can I get there on a bike? Can I run there? Could I drive there? You know, they're not really. So sometimes that does stop a show. But it is almost like that. It's like, why are you going to Dubai? What do you need to be in person for? Things like Skype. I think if we get used to what I'd say sort of thinking outside of the box, you know, and just looking for solutions, then we'll win straight away, and we'll be able to break this stuff down. And that is a key component to mental toughness. It's about having this attitude just to turn around and say, yeah, the chips are down, the flights are cancelled, so what's the next best thing we can do? And it's not, some people might turn around and say, oh yeah, but that in that situation you're celebrating for, you're settling for second best. Well, I'm not really settling for second best. I'm finding a solution to get me, you know, to get me out of it. So it's a lot about being solution. I don't really see problems. I just see how I can fix things.
So
And
mental toughness and positive attitudes correlate really well.
I think so, mate. Definitely. You know, there's a lot about having a positive attitude and positive thinking, and I think that's what's a little bit distorted at the moment. Like, just because you have a positive attitude and just because you think positively, it doesn't automatically make you successul.
No.
But it's a massive part of it. If you see everything as a burden, everything as an issue, then the chances of you getting through the morning are probably absolutely wrecked. But if you're like, okay, that hasn't happened how it was supposed to, what are we going to do to make it happen?
Yeah.
It's that go-to attitude. So yes, it is a positive attitude, and it's kind of the pillar of becoming mentally strong.
Yeah. I read an article talking about mental energy, such as like a car having a gas tank, okay? And they talk about, you know, like when you use all of your energy on focusing on all those negative things, you're almost empty the whole mind and your whole mindset, or your whole mental gas tank, or whatever we can call it, for all the positive things that are going to come.
I agree, mate. Like, the brain is an incredible organ. You can come up with all the research, all the stats. We only use 20% of it. We only use this much of it. But at the same time, we have mental capacity. So we can only fill it with so much.
Yeah.
And by this I mean, I can tell you 3 things, and there's a good chance you'll remember them. If I'm above 10 things, what do? You go and get a pen and paper, you start writing it down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that you don't forget. The brain is the same when it comes to what we input into it based on our success. Yes, if we input negative things into it, that'll take up, if it was a computer, that'll take up all the hard drive space. Yeah. I absolutely believe this is true. Whether there's research, I actually don't give a shit.
No.
But I absolutely believe it's true. So if you've filled your brain with negative thoughts, there is no space for the positive stuff.
No.
And to be honest, mate, if you've chosen to do that, it's because you've developed a negative mindset. There's a lot of reasons which we can go into later of why you develop a negative mental mindset, because I believe that it comes from a number of different things. But the point is that, yes, I absolutely agree, is that you need to have space for these positive thoughts.
Yeah.
So if everything's negative, then definitely you're not going to have space to program your hard drive to be mentally tough and positive.
And talking about programming your mindset or your mental hard drive to be tough, which ways do you do that? I think it's easy to sit. It's harder said than done. It's easier said than done.
Yeah. It is, mate. But this was your second. This was the second question, and the second one that I sort of was like, wow. You know, how do you develop mental toughness?
Is there any techniques?
Yeah, there is.
Drills or
absolutely. There's a lot. Firstly, you have to sort of identify your own behavior. So you have to be willing to either get a coach or a mentor who's pretty good at this stuff. And I have a couple that I work with, and also work with a number of people to help them. And it's like, if we take it into our environment, into a CrossFit environment, we'd say, okay, you come into the gym today, this is the workout. What's your first thoughts? Like, just tell me what's your first thoughts. And honestly, a lot of the time, what I found with people, because I've asked people, and I see people come up to the board, they're like, oh, I hate that, or oh, I hate that.
I actually remember you doing this drill.
And I did it with you and Mia once.
I remember.
And this is only in a workout environment. So if you want to build mental toughness, and if you want to fill your hard drive with positive thoughts, when I look at a workout, all I look at is what I'm good at.
Yeah.
That's all I look at. I don't care about what I'm bad at, because in the 5 minutes between now and when the class starts, I cannot change the things I'm good at. What I can do is I can take up space on my mental hard drive with those negative thoughts, and I can actually forget how to do box jumps fast, or a skill like double unders, which I know I can do, 100, 200 unbroken. Yeah. I'm so stressed out about the snatch that I trip every 2 minutes or every 2 reps on the double unders.
Yeah.
So there are mental exercises that you can do, but I also believe that, and I think this is where I learned the most about myself and developing a strong mindset, is the way that you really develop mental toughness is subjecting yourself to extremely tough mental situations. And I've found that I'm able to find those situations through sport, through physical movement. There's no real reason why I should have started running ultra marathons. CrossFit is incredibly hard, and let me put this out there. CrossFit's one of the hardest things I've done.
Yep.
However, it lasts a very, very short time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, okay, 2012, the Open, 7 minutes AMRAP burpees. All you have to do is prepare your mind for 7 minutes. That's all. You're only going to be in pain for, the pain can carry on a little bit afterwards, but you're only going to be in pain for a little bit afterwards. And you're not going to be in pain from the start, because
the clock will save you.
The clock saves you. I stood on the start of an ultramarathon line where the distance was 300 kilometers and the time cap was 100. It was actually 95 hours.
Wow.
That's quite a long time to be in pain. Now, I'm not saying that everyone should do that. I'd made a choice to do that, and I believe that what I learned from that has helped me in various different areas of life. So what I'm saying here is how you develop mental toughness. Yes, you go out, you get a coach, you get a mentor, someone that you respect, someone that you believe can help you. But then that's where external help almost stops. You have to submit yourself to excruciatingly painful situations. That's the bottom line.
And one of the easiest way to do that is through sports, I guess.
One of the easiest ways I find, mate, is through sports. I don't know if it's for everyone. I know it's for a lot of people. And why do I know that? Because I've seen a lot of people that came into my gym not doing very well in their private life, not doing very well in their professional life, in the corporate world. And they were also quite mentally weak when it came to a workout. There were those people that came in, looked at the board and said, yeah, I don't really, it's burpees today, I hate burpees. Yeah. And they didn't focus on the positives, and there was a lot of negative self-talk going on. When we're able to almost break them and then build them up again, we gave them, through physical conditioning, we actually help them to get better in their relationships and also better in their professional life. So I believe, and that's why I have a business that I have, is that, physical activity, sport really does help. And like I said, when we started this particular question, I don't think that running a 300-kilometer ultramarathon or running an ultramarathon is actually for anyone. For some people, the fear that I felt on that start line could be felt at the start of a 5-kilometer row. So what I would say to people is, where you can take responsibility is you can say, what have I seen in the last month that I've just thought that is my biggest nightmare? Yeah. Whatever that is, go and do that. And you know what? And this is the gist of it. I failed on that 300k ultra. When I got to sort of 65 hours, I literally did pass out. Yeah. I hadn't slept for all that time, and I just I laid there, I woke up, and I couldn't continue. I chose to sort of pass out. I chose to lay there, and I couldn't continue. One of two things is going to happen. You're going to finish, if it's a 5k row, you're going to finish that 5k row, or you're not. there's only two things that'll happen. There's not,
There's no in between.
There is really no in between, mate. Like, I was either going to finish that race in 95 hours or I was not. If I didn't, I would learn a lot along the way, and I learned a lot along the way. And the following year, I ran 250 kilometers across the Sahara, and you'd do exactly the same. I've seen people unable to run 100 meters on the first day. You sit with them, well, what happened? Well, my legs were sore. Okay, why are your legs sore? Okay, this. And you sort of try and understand. The amount of time I went back in reflection after that first brutal encounter into ultra running and thought about things and processed things and wrote things down and debunked it all, asked people questions to try and help me to try and unravel it all. Like, I spent hours looking at it so that I knew I could be the successful the next time. And that, to me, is where we're doing it a little bit wrong, is that we might do that 5K and we might fail it. It's not easy to row 5K. It's not easy to row 1K.
No.
You know what I mean? But we do it, we fail it, and we accept it. And that's what pisses me off the most.
That's the problem.
We accept the failure. We're like, I tried it and I couldn't do it.
And I guess it's very easy to accept the next failure.
Yeah.
Once you start accepting failures, it's just going to be next time and next time, whether it's in your dieting or training or life.
Absolutely, mate. But once, on the flip side as well, is once you embrace the failure, once you say, and it's not giving yourself an out. Some people say, oh yeah, failure, people call it failure, but they just quit. No. Listen, if you pass out on that rowing machine, if you can't move your arms and legs and you're dribbling on the floor, please don't die. But if you're in a really bad situation, you haven't quit. No. You've failed for other reasons. And then you go back and you learn why you failed. You understand why you failed. You might have gone out too hard. You might not have hydrated well enough. You might have had the wrong shoes on. You might have had some, there's a number of reasons why people fail. You learn from them and then you carry on. But yeah, if you're willing to accept the failure, and then one of the biggest disappointments for me is hearing people, I've trained for so long. I tried to break this 4-hour marathon, or I tried to do this and now I've given up on it. Like, get out of here, loser. You know what I mean? Like, is
you're
that
going to give up on that? You might give up on,
You could give up, but, they'll say, I dedicated some time to it.
Yeah.
Like, it took me 5 years to take 0.4 of a second off my 500-meter row time. It took 5 years.
0.4.
I went from 117.4 to 117.0. It took 5 years. And I did attempt it a number of times. I trained hard. I will not say I thought about that every single day. That would definitely be a lie. But I thought about it constantly. It took how much did Usain Bolt shave off every time? You know what I mean? So I think these are all the things that is all down to a mindset of how you're approaching stuff and what you're doing to prepare yourself for the next time to almost ensure that you don't fail.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of an insight into how you develop mental toughness.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So an easy way to do it, come into a gym. We're open. Any other gym.
Yeah, exactly. I like I said, mate, I think physical exercise or sport is a great way. Yeah. Join a gym, join a group, join a running group, do a triathlon.
Yeah. On top of my head, that's probably the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Like, the other way you can face, mental toughness would be for business, but that's quite a lot more risky, or
Yeah.
I think you're often put in tough situations not by your choice, like a tough family situation where you really have to bite your teeth and keep working, or a business situation. In sports, you just come to the gym.
You just come in, and I think you
really prepare yourself for those situations.
You do, mate, and you've made me think of something quite interesting. Like, if you go up to your boss and go, I'm really pumped up, I'm totally positive about this, and you're my boss, I say to you, Andre, can you give me a piece of work that's going to make me mentally tough? Like, don't worry, I might fail on it for you, but, the corporate world is a little bit more cutthroat than that. Like, you'd look at me and go, mate, just get out. You know what I mean? You'd be like, I'm going to give this piece of work to someone I know that can complete it.
Yeah.
And that's probably why sport's such a good vehicle for building people's mental toughness, is that because so much is linked to success in the corporate world, monetary wise, financially, like, I'm just not going to risk giving you this project to just, like, with the chance that you might fail at it.
Yeah,
like,
it's too risky.
It's a little bit risky. So yeah, just jump into a gym, jump into a group, and try and get into an environment that will help you to be successful, and if you do fail, will be supportive at the same
Yeah.
time.
My third question
Yeah.
is, can you learn mental toughness, or are you born with it? I think a lot of people would blame themselves for just, man, I just don't have it in me. It's not for me.
Yeah. And to a certain extent, mate, I really do agree with that. What I've seen, I'm not saying I have an incredible amount of mental toughness. I've done some things, and some people have done way more incredible things that require a lot more. But when I get asked this question, are you born with it or can you develop it? I think it's a mixture of both. I don't think you're naturally born with mental toughness, but I think the early parts of your life and your upbringing pretty much build the base for what you're going to become. And by that I mean, listen, there's people out there, and it's absolutely disgraceful. There's parents bringing children into the world who are obese, who smoke too much, who take drugs, who drink. And what happens is often, and this is not all the time, I know it's quite a generalization, but often that happens to the children as well. Yeah. And so it's you become, and this is what I believe in the most, you become a product of your environment. If you hang around with people that are very mentally tough, it's mental toughness has certain characteristics. You start to develop them, you start to pick them up. You were born into a family. My dad was pretty tough on me. He rarely told me well done for anything. I got very limited feedback. I never felt like I'd impressed him. And for me, that drove me more.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people will say that's the wrong way to bring a kid up, and you shouldn't do that, and you should tell them well done. Well, I think we're at the opposite end of the spectrum now, which is complete bullshit, where kids get prizes just for finishing on a course. Like, you've come 400th, loser.
Yeah.
Train harder. You know what I mean? And suddenly I'm the bad guy because I've said that. But it's the reality. Like, you're telling a kid that's placed 400th in an event that he's done well. Like, when I was at school, it was first, second, or third on the podium, and everyone else was looked down upon by my teachers.
If you create the habit of letting them win all the time,
yeah,
they're gonna get a freaking shock when they get into the real world.
Exactly.
And then they're gonna get depressed and obese, and then
exactly. So you can learn, and it's pretty obvious what I believe here. You can learn mental toughness. We've taken people into our gym. We've made them mentally tougher.
Yeah.
If I took someone who was a little bit soft and I took them out and we ran, what did I do recently, that 50K run. I said, mate, we're going to go and run 50K. And you made it or you didn't, I don't care. But then we sat down and we analyzed that. And we analyzed why you made it and how you made it. And we understand the characteristics of the success or failure. I'm now teaching you mental toughness. I'm now helping you to get mentally stronger. So you can definitely learn it. I do think that in the early parts of your life, and you do have a certain amount, like, parents have a responsibility, and sometimes kids have have a certain amount of blame they could potentially put on their adults or their parents. I don't like to call it like that, but if your parents control you until 18 years old, and this is some of the hardest things I do. A parent calls me, I've got a problem with my kid. Okay, bring the kid, let's have a look. The kid's obese.
Let's have a look.
Okay, let's have a look at your kid. Yeah, your kid's obese. Okay, kid, leave the room. So the kid leaves the room. Okay, who controls the kid? And you start to have the conversation with the parents. Who controls the kid's food? And parent answers, well, I do. So you're the problem for this kid's obesity. Well, no, I'm not, because I give them pocket money and they go to the mall. Okay, so you give the kid pocket money, he goes to the mall, and he buys the super upsized meal from McDonald's. So you're the problem with the kid. So it's a lot of responsibility here for the adults. And that's why I think sometimes, like, if you're bringing a kid into the world, you need to know, I haven't.
Responsibility.
So parents, please don't bag me out on this. And I know it's tough, and I know you're all struggling, and it's not easy, but it's a responsibility. Create a good environment for your kid, food-wise. Teach them good mental toughness, and they'll be more successful. But you can definitely, it's something that's learned, that's for sure.
Would you say that talent is overrated?
Would I say that talent's overrated?
So now that we're talking about mental toughness, and
yeah,
I
I believe so, mate. I believe that. There was a quote ages ago from Lance Armstrong, love him or hate him, and he said, there's your talent is what you're born with, is the skills, is the natural ability. And I do believe in a certain amount of natural ability.
Yeah.
However, if you do look back at, you look at someone like Tiger Woods, from a young age he was having a golf club in his hand. So if you take Matthew Syed's theory of 10,000 meaningful hours of practice, he's going to become good. But Armstrong said there's talent is what you're born with, and potential is what you make that talent into. I believe that a lot of the time, and what I'm seeing these days in people, is that the talented people generally become lazier and less successful because they're talented.
Yeah, they're the best from their young.
They're the best.
They don't have to work hard.
They don't have to. Exactly, mate. And I'm not super talented, and I haven't worked super hard. But I know in school, all the kids that just thought they had it, I wanted to absolutely smash them.
Yeah.
So I would work double hard to run faster or throw a javelin longer or something like that. So I think it is a little bit, I think, and that's what happens a lot of time, on the other end of the spectrum. We're talking about when parents bring fat kids to see me. I've had young kids to come in and see me, and they're like, my kid's being identified as super talented, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And when's he playing his sport next? And I'll go down and I'll watch the sport, and I'll go, yeah, he's talented, but his attitude sucks.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to lose. Not that you should learn how to lose, but he doesn't know how to react in a losing situation. Yeah. He's not behaving well. He doesn't behave well in a team environment. So it's all these other things that, the talent is being able to hit that ball over the net like Federer can unbelievably.
Yeah.
But really, the characteristics of Federer's personality make him a champion.
Yeah.
It's okay. The ball is one thing, but to be able to block out the crowd, that ability, and to be able to do all these other things. So I do think talent's a little bit overrated, mate. I think by meaningful practice, like Matthew Syed said, 10,000 meaningful hours of practice, you can get better.
Yeah.
We're going to play table tennis every single day. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. It's not always, and this is what's happening at the top end of sport, it's not always the guy that has the best skills or is the most talented that wins. It's often the guy that has the best, what you'd call, if you look at Federer, like you just say his all-round game is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, what's his all-round game? And then you'll say his persona. You see his body language when he walks onto the tennis court. His shoulders are down back, his chest is up, but it's not sticking out. It's not protracted.
It's confident but humble.
Exactly, mate. And that's an all-round game, and he can almost put someone mentally weak off because of the way that he conducts his body language.
Yeah.
So talent is slightly overrated. Hard work always wins, and it's the confidence and attitude to work hard in areas that you're not that good that ultimately help you to win.
What you said before is how Federer carries himself. So we can kind of talk about mental toughness is not only something that happens inside your head, it's also what happens physically.
Absolutely.
How you carry yourself, and you can actually represent mental toughness.
Absolutely, mate. You can... There's a lot of things that you can actually do. Like, you look at loads of different sports. Just look at CrossFit as one. Like, if I'm going head-to-head with you in a workout, and as the workouts are these days, we're seeing like time cap extender workouts.
Yeah.
So if I want to completely psych you out, and I know that the fourth barbell is 100 kilos, and I start getting 100 kilos out, you're like, oh my God, he's already this, and I've put you off straight away. I've just got it out. I know I'm never going to get there. I know I'm going to smash you on the third bar, and then I'm going to be passed out in the gutter as well. So, yeah, I think there's a lot. Obviously, I love cycling. I've loved cycling for a long time. It's actually a little bit of a misconception that people have that in the last couple of years, I've bought a road bike, and I've obviously cycled a lot more. But growing up, I used to watch cycling. I know all the guys from, Jan Ulrich. I remember, all the old days. Only again, environment from my father. He used to sort of watch it, and I was just genuinely interested. Mental games in cycling is just incredible. glasses up or glasses down, shoulder position, all of this. So
smallest things.
The smallest things that, people changing gears. When do you change gears? Why is he changing? What's happening? And I off balance you. And that's what I always say to people, like, if you want to get the upper hand on someone, like in a CrossFit workout, and it's thrusters and pull-ups, for example, one of the most famous ones, I want you, as soon as you put that barbell down, to do some pull-ups. If you're completely smashed, no worries. Just do 4 or 5 pull-ups. Do 2. Because if you're ahead of the guy, then what's happening, if you're ahead of your competitor, he's like, oh my God, he's like, you're still doing thrusters and I'm doing pull-ups. He's already doing pull-ups. He's already doing pull-ups. You don't know how many I've done, but I'm already sort of using these small techniques to beat you down. So I think it's really important, mate. And I think that, links in with what we're saying about talent, is that people don't pay enough attention to all of the components of sport, performance, and life. And I'm not talking, some of those things that I just spoke about there, people might think we're a little bit sly, but I want to win. And I want to win. I want you to win. I want everyone to win. So I want you to do the small things that allow you to win. Even if it seems a little bit weird, you put your chalk bucket in a certain area, or you put your, just don't, you're not cheating.
No.
You're just doing what you can to win.
And how does that carry over in your private or your business life? Those small inches. Now we talked about chalk or chin up, shoulders back.
Yeah.
How would that look? And you're heading to a business meeting.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I always say to people. There's a few different things you can control. You can be on time for the meeting. You've already won. If you're there on time or early, you've already won. So all of these things, I think, carry over. You walk into the meeting. I'm huge on body language. A decent handshake. You're there and you're present and you're not arrogant. I'm not sitting here talking to you, oh, Andre. I'm here and I'm engaged, and I'm, sometimes I'm mirroring and matching how you're sitting. You're sitting like this now. I'm sitting like this. We both feel super comfortable.
Yeah.
You're trying to mess with me now, but it all carries over, mate. And I think that's where, if you think about fitness and what we do, someone comes here and they have a really poor self-image. Why? They deserve to. They're fat. They're out of shape. It's disgusting. They're carrying 30 to 40% body fat. Now, if I walk into a meeting and I know, and you're a big dude. Now, this again is a little bit of a generalization, but I know that you've got mental weaknesses. I know you have, because you're unable, you got in that state, you know that you're not in a good state.
Yeah.
So you give in to things easily. Now, whether you do, there's a lot of very successful people in the business world that are incredibly overweight. So it kind of puts this down. But if you walk in, suddenly you're in good shape, you feel great. What's your mental attitude like when you walk into that meeting? It carries over, mate. Like, I'm not saying that, and this is where we have to be a little bit careful. Like, husband comes to gym, husband gets ripped, goes home, sticks his chest out to wife and says, "I'm better than you." Like, I don't want that to happen, obviously, mate. But it really does carry over. Like, there's a lot to be said about that confidence in yourself and in your body, and that develops mental toughness as well. So, yeah, there is a lot of carryover.
This is a bit funny question. I'm curious to ask who you think are the toughest athletes in the world. Which sport are we talking about? Just your opinion. I mean,
I tried to make a list of these. I do genuinely feel that cycling is an incredibly tough sport. And I do also believe that that's probably why it's been littered with drugs.
Okay.
I believe that just as a sort of side note on this, I believe that all professional sport has a lot of drugs in it, and I absolutely hate it. When I was playing professional sport, I had the option to take drugs, and it freaked me out, and it nearly made me run away from the sport, because I just think it's completely wrong to take drugs. I think I did everything that was legal, but I would never touch anything illegal. I used to have anesthetic injections in my body before I went to play on the rugby field, so I didn't feel the pain that I was going to be in. I used to take painkillers, and it was to my detriment. But anything that was illegal or on the banned substance list, I never took it. And that's what... Cycling is full of drugs as well, and people will say that. But just understand something. The Tour de France is a 3-week race. They cycle for about 5 hours every day of that race for 3 weeks. There's a few different sort of rest days or lighter days. But on the rest day, they still go out. They warm up before the 5 hours. They cool down. It's brutal. It's hard to control, to focus, control your mind for that long. You know, so I think cycling and endurance sports on the whole, at the top level, and this is where you have to be a little bit careful. Cycling for me is hard, but it's not anywhere near as hard as it is for those guys. I'm almost at my max, I know, but they're doing it day after day after day after day. And you can see, you know, one of the images that was posted during the Tour de France was a guy's legs after 3 weeks, and there was nothing left of them. Like, no. It's brutal. So I think endurance sport at the top level is one of the hardest sports. I actually think, sort of, call it our sport of CrossFit, I think at the top level, it's now becoming incredibly tough to be good at because of the breadth of the activities that these guys are asked to be good at.
We transfer over to the training we need to do.
Like what do you do? You know, okay, I need to be able to do strict handstand push-ups and potentially run a marathon. Like, there's not many...
Deadlift 250.
And deadlift 250, snatch 130. Like, it's obscene what they're being asked to do. So I do think CrossFit is a very... You know, CrossFit athletes at the top of the sport are very tough. And then I think, mate, like, I think all professional sport needs... And the top players of it all have their certain elements. Like, we could go through them, like boxing. Okay, you want me to go in this ring that's, 5x5 and just let you belt the shit out of me for 3 minutes at once until I fall over? Like, that needs something that I don't have. That's for sure. You know, we spoke about Roger Federer. You know, Roger Federer's life, and it's similar to the Golf Pro Tour, is in hotels. It's out of home. It's not comfortable. It's bringing a team around that only focus on you.
You're alone on the field. It's a super lonely sport.
It's a super lonely sport. So, you know, I think it's very difficult to say who are the toughest athletes, because I think they're all tough. But I really do believe it goes back to almost what we said quite close to the start, is that endurance sports, I believe that you're in pain for the longest time.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. The world Ironman time world record is around 8 hours. Like, just imagine being in the red for 8 hours, and you tell me that you hurt after your Fran time because you've now got it down to 2:30. Like, wake up to yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Fran is easy.
No, but it's short time.
But it's a very, very short time.
We compared to that, 2-hour marathon they try to do with the night campaign.
Right.
Like, you look at those split times. Literally, if I went for a 200-meter sprint, that's the pace they go at for 2 hours.
For 2 hours. So what sort of... And this is one of the biggest things, mate. It is about what we're sort of willing to suffer for. It's how much pain we're able to take and keep going.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things, and that's one of the biggest things of mental toughness is... Mental toughness, okay, we define it differently, but it is literally how long you're willing to be uncomfortable for.
Yeah.
And that's why I have ultimate respect for CrossFit athletes, for how they're training, for tennis players, for boxers and stuff, but I can't help always coming back to the fact that endurance athletes are in absolute agony for a long time.
Yeah.
And they literally are, mate. And there's so many variables, there's so much that can go wrong. Like, you don't have to think about nutrition during a workout. I have to think about nutrition in my Ironman, not me, but they have to think about nutrition. So
many domains.
I think, there's so many domains and so many different variables. So it's difficult to argue, and I think some of the greatest athletes of all time are people like Usain Bolt, are people like Federer. It's difficult. The endurance athletes, the best of all time, are not the most celebrated. It's not the most lucrative sport.
No.
It's not the most interesting sport. Endurance sports, it doesn't get big TV rights.
It's hours and
hours
doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's but I think there's some of the toughest athletes come from the endurance field.
Yeah, I think before we end this podcast, one thing I had on my mind while we were talking was that I think mental toughness starts with the smallest things in your daily life. And
I agree.
This morning I got up at 4 o'clock almost.
Yeah.
And when that alarm rings, no matter what time you went to bed last night,
Doesn't
and
matter.
it's pitch black outside,
Yep.
you're freaking tired,
Yep.
and you don't want to get up.
I agree, man.
And if you let yourself be weak in that moment and snooze it,
Yep.
there's a lot bigger chance that you're going to be weak the rest of the day.
I agree.
And that's the one thing I think about every single morning when that alarm rings, that don't choose to be weak.
Yeah.
Because it's going to reflect on everything I'll do the rest of the day.
Yep.
And you let yourself be weak down one time, it's so easy to do it again. You know,
Absolutely.
when you're
Yeah.
tired at work or when you're tired in training,
Yeah.
it's the smallest things. And if you can try to commit to a few things that you really just want to focus on, like not snoozing or
Yeah.
eating clean or whatever it might be, and you dedicate, your life to that, everything else will be so much easier.
I agree with you, mate. And I think that's what, people will say to me, I think that's one of the biggest conversations. I don't give a shit if you wake up at 4, 5, 6, 7,
not what
or
it's
8.
about.
It's not the time. It's about that alarm bell rings and you get up and you go get it. You never hit snooze.
Nope.
Like, you just never, ever hit snooze. Anyone that says to me, I set the alarm for 5 and I ended up getting up at 5:30, I've beaten you already. I know that you're mentally weak. And we're talking about it like body language and stuff. That's one of the biggest keys, mate. And I think if you're willing to put off getting up and going after the day, like, even sometimes I think when you sleep 12 hours, you wake up, you're tired. Like, you don't feel like bed purposely is a beautiful place. We have nice sheets. We put the room at the temperature that we like. We're lucky enough to have that, and it's so comfortable.
Yeah.
Of course, you naturally don't want to jump out of it, but the attitude to doing that is something so powerful, and it's almost the first test in your day.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's like you said it so clearly there. Like, if you're gonna fail at that, the chances are you're gonna fail at a number of other things. So, mate, I think that's a really good thought to wrap things up with. But I think one of the biggest things, the questions that we've answered are questions that I get over and over again, and I think people just need to focus on, yes, you can build mental toughness, but holy shit, you're gonna have to work hard on it every single day. You're going to have to quit a habit of a lifetime of snoozing 4 or 5 times, like setting 5 or 6 alarms, and you're going to have to change that attitude. But honestly, mate, you really can do it.
Yeah, and watch your life change.
Yeah.
Watch your life change. The
In
opportunities. Everything.
Yeah, that's it. There we go.
Thanks so much for answering all of the questions.
I think
we still have a few left, but we'll save them for another time.
Easy peasy, mate. Thanks a lot, and thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks a lot for tuning into this episode of the show, folks. And Andre got me there with a couple of the questions. Luckily, I prepared answers for his 25 questions, and we got through about 5 of them. But hopefully, we got the point over. Thank you guys for supporting the podcast. Of course, if you do have any questions, queries, or things you want to correct us on, we're not perfect. We're just trying. Drop us an email, winning@innerfight.com. Until next time, take care.